Hello, and welcome to what is a new and should be somewhat interesting feature that I'm going to add to this vlog. It's called Album Views Whenever the Fuck I Feel Like It. It's called Album Reviews Whenever the Fuck I Feel Like It. I feel like I need to make the name a little better, but for the moment, we're going to roll with it because it's what I got. So, this is going to force me to figure out how to put graphics and pictures into my videos, so I'm going to point to the album cover. High Violet by The National came out in 2010 on the label 4AD. Now, 4AD is known for picking up different artists. It's just a bunch of definitely interesting bands. So why is High Violet the first album I'm going to review, or at least talk about in depth? Well, because as stated in a previous vlog, I'm a big fan of Matt Berringer. I'm a big fan of The National in general. So why High Violet? I started listening to High Violet, it came out in 2010. I was in 8th grade. So it's been, 5 years now, and I've probably listened to it at least 100 times. So it would make sense for me to start with this one because it's the one I know best. What makes High Violet I don't want to say the best because I don't think that's a fair qualifier. What makes it their greatest album? If I could describe to you the feeling that I had when I first listened to it, it might be able to explain a lot because the feeling hasn't changed. My perception of the feeling has changed. Let me explain. But in middle school, what I listened to was Nirvana, Kid Cudi, almost exclusively. Sometimes The Strokes. So, when I listened to High Violet for the first time, I hated it. I hated it. I hated how claustrophobic it was. I hated the drums. And I for sure hated Matt Berringer's voice. For sure. It was monotonous. It was dull. It was boring. So what kept bringing me back to High Violet was Blood Buzz Ohio. And then I started to find other songs a little bit more interesting too. Like I started to notice little details about the album. And here is where the review itself begins. Originally I was going to do this song for song, but I was trying that out just now and it wasn't great. And I felt like it was just a lot of me talking and not a lot of anything happening. Even more so than like my other vlogs. That's saying something. So let's try a different direction. Let's do a very professional review and not me being a fanboy of the National review of High Violet. Let's go with the pros let's go with what makes High Violet a fantastic album. Very challenging at first, and I mean that in the best way possible, because if you've never listened to The National before, and even if you had listened to The National before, High Violet comes off as a very different album than anything you've heard. Not even Alligator, which was their third LP, came off as self-destructive and angry and angsty as High Violet did. Cons to this album. Reasons why it's not perfect. It's not perfect because Runaway exists. First of all, I mean I don't love Runaway. I like Runaway, but I don't think it's fantastic. I feel like there's songs on the LP, on the extended edition, like I feel like Wake Up Your Saints, even though it doesn't fit, is a better song. And I also feel like Walk Off is just a better song and a better fit for that low tempo spot that they wanted to fill after Lemon World and in between Conversation 16. I'm having a really hard time critiquing this album, like, for what holds it back from being perfect. High Violet does it. It is too focused on the negative range of emotions, or at the very least, it's very focused on the negative range of emotions and the negative consequences and feelings coming from those emotions, for it to be as grand and relatable as, let's say, I can't. It's hard to compare this album to anything else because there's not much that really is like The National. Like, you could say that there's some bands that are close in theme and musically, but like it's a step above and beyond. So I don't really know if there is a truly gigantic con to the album, except for the fact that it's a very specific taste and takes a very specific background to fully understand. Like, you can appreciate the music, you can appreciate how visceral some of the lyrics are, but like, if you're not like middle class, upper middle class, white, socialite, some of the stuff is just going to be kind of alienated. Like, upper class guilt, as it's described in Lemon World, isn't going to make sense to someone that has built their way to the upper middle class. They're like, I earned this, why would I care about, why would I feel bad for my cousins somewhere overseas? Well, it doesn't make sense to some people, and it won't. Some people are just, it's not totally relatable all the time, and I think that's its biggest failing. Whereas, like, Trouble Will Find Me, you can feel those things no matter what. Same thing with Alligator. Boxer, no. Boxer's in the same boat as High Violet. But, like, Alligator and Trouble Will Find Me, yes, they're not just about being a socialite. They're not just about being upper middle class and white. They're broader than that. And the pigeonhole Boxer and High Violet into that completely is not fair either, because there's a lot of people that can relate to Blood Buzz Ohio. And there's a lot of people that can relate to Terrible Love. I could see how people could hate it, because it comes off as very stiff. I don't think there's a way to fault the band musically, unless you don't like mid-tempo, in which case, yeah, you're gonna hate it, because they stay in the mid-tempo the whole time. They do so much within that range, but they stay within the mid-tempo the whole time. They don't really come that far out of it. There's no songs like Able or like Graceless where it comes up and out of it a little bit. It's pretty much constantly. I think there's something for everyone to appreciate on it, and I think it is a fantastic body of work. And if I could ever produce anything that is halfway as good as High Violet is, in any equivalent, in any medium, I will consider my life not complete, but definitely a little better off. And I will feel like I've done something for this world. In conclusion, then, High Violet. Beautiful, wonderful, fantastic album. I don't think it can be overrated, and I definitely think I don't think it's underrated either, because it did get its fair share of acclaim. But I don't think it can be overrated, because it means so much to so many different people, and I think that's fantastic. I'm not going to give it a star rating, because I've been thinking about it, and I hate that. I hate star ratings. I hate having, like, however many out of 10. Like, I read Pitchfork sometimes, and it pisses me off, because I don't think it's fair to give something a number. If you like the description, if you like mid-tempo I can't say I can't say that word. If you like mid-tempo, melancholy, insular, slightly psychotic music with mid-tempo leadings and interesting lyrics, amazing drums, interesting melodies and a very understated and underrated bass line. Very understated and underrated bass lines. High Violet is fantastic.